Alright, here we go with another G.I. Joe review. This time I'm doing the Cobra H.E.A.T Viper. I believe this guy originally came out in 1989. So this was another one of those figures that kind of came out towards the sort of the tail end of the series, as it were. And I've mentioned this before. It's kind of one of my favorite sort of parts of this toy line was at the end here, because they just really started kind of throwing some kind of crazy and kind of wacky designs out there, especially with regards to the color schemes. Probably more so with the Cobra characters, but I think also too the Joe team characters were starting to get kind of weird and bizarre too. A lot of kind of futuristic weapons and just kind of impractical kind of devices and things, and we'll kind of talk about that here in a little bit too. But anyways, here's the toy here, and let's just kind of zoom in on it and look at the detail on him a little bit up close. And let's start off here talking about his little helmet. I don't have all the accessories on him just yet, but we'll get to that here in a bit. Obviously there's a peg here sticking out on the side, which is obviously going to have something attached to it. Anyways, there's his helmet there. It's kind of a odd looking helmet. It's got the one side that's covered and the other side's supposed to have like the silver kind of I guess, you know, see-through part or a dome part or whatever it is. And quickly, the color scheme on this guy, like I mentioned, is kind of wacky. I don't have the file card for this guy, sadly, but I do remember it saying something about that these guys here are supposed to be kind of like using stealth technology of some kind, if I'm correct. But if they are supposed to be using some kind of stealth technology, I find it funny that they're in a bright sort of orangish yellow, you know, jumpsuit with purple highlights on it. So, you know, yeah, you might be kind of stealthy, but you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb on the battlefield, really. But anyways, you know, it is just a toy. So anyways, let's kind of pan on down here, and as you can see, there's the weird kind of color scheme, the sort of yellowish orange with purple. And right here on his right leg, there's a little gun molded in there. Obviously that's not removable. And let's look on down here. He's got some gloves on his hands, and there's his boots. And you'll notice there it's got some like little missiles or mortars attached there. They are removable, and there are 6 of them, 3 on each leg. I am missing 1 though on my guy here, so I need to find me an extra missile somewhere. These just pop off like so, and they just peg onto the little tabs there. Pretty easy. This is probably one of those figures that, you know, if you had it as a kid, you could easily lose these little missiles here. Now, what this guy's role was in Cobra, I believe, was they were basically like a bazooka trooper or a anti-tank soldier of some kind. And what they had was this great big bazooka here, which we'll kind of get in here to the weapons now. And here it is there. And he would actually hold it here on the top, so it's kind of like holding it underhanded as opposed to like a pistol, you know. So that's it there. And I guess what it's supposed to be is these missiles here, or mortars or whatever, would, you know, go inside here, and it's supposed to be shooting these guys off, I guess. And it says here FH or FAH or something like that right in here. Let me see what that says. Or Fang. It looks like it says Fang. I never noticed that before. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Maybe they could have called them the Fang Troopers or something, or Cobra Fangs or something like that. But like I was saying, this would go in here. It wasn't really meant to hold like this, like a traditional bazooka. And on the package, I think it showed it kind of like here, like on the underside of the underarm sort of position here. And let's just kind of snap that in there. So yeah, this guy would have this great big cannon that he would lumber around with on the battlefield, and the idea was that it was supposed to shoot those missiles and help take out tanks and artillery and stuff like that. Now, the other part of the accessories here was this rubber hose, and this would attach like so, or attaches like so, to the front end of it here, like that. And then this part here pegs onto that little post there on the side of the helmet. So that did have a purpose. And it just goes on there like that. And I guess this is supposed to be like, you know, the targeting system or something like that, the interface for it. And he also has a little backpack. And there's the backpack there. Now, I'm not sure about this backpack. I think on the packaging, the way you're supposed to position it is like so, with this little pipe part here down on the underside, or on the bottom here facing down, basically. I don't know, I always like to put it this way, with it up. And to me, I think it makes more sense like this. The reason being is that I'm assuming this is some kind of exhaust system of some kind, and you know, it's jetting out or venting out the hot air or gases or whatever it was away from the person. Kind of odd though, again, when you talk about this, like, you know, practically or you know, realistically speaking. Let me just kind of move this out of the way. It's kind of getting in the way here. But you would think this would actually face backwards away from the person as opposed to coming out in the front. So yeah, kind of not well thought out there. But anyways, another reason why I don't like it there in this position is because it kind of gets in the way. His arm kind of wants to hit here. So even if that is the correct position, I just don't care for it there. I think maybe if this was turned around the other way, with these hoses facing back that way, it wouldn't be so bad. But because it's not, I would put it like this. So that's just my personal preference. But the other hose that this guy should have had, and which I don't have, is just one of those generic little black rubber hoses, which I never really cared for. If you've seen any of my other reviews, I've kind of mentioned that they usually kind of overdid it on some of the figures with those. But it has a little hose that would attach here, and it goes onto this little peg right here. So it'd have another little black hose running to here and here, in addition to the big gray, the big gray one right here. So let's just put that back together like that. So that's the Cobra H.E.A.T Viper here. And that's him with all his accessories now. So he's ready for battle. Quickly, articulation on this guy is pretty much the standard 1980s G.I. Joe figure. But in case you forgot it, the head here does swivel, kind of left and right, look up and down. Arms are 360 here, bend up and down. Rotate here, 360, bend at the elbows. Can do that with the waist. And the hips do like that. And the knees bend. And that's it. So that's pretty much it for the articulation on this guy. So let's go ahead and just stand this guy up here. So yeah, this is the Cobra H.E.A.T Viper. I like this guy. It's one of my favorite Vipers. I like the weapon system he's got. I like the kind of wacky color scheme and just the overall concept of him. Again, one of those kind of sort of the tail end of the series figures that was just kind of out there a bit, which I kind of like. If you want to find or get this guy, pretty easy to find online. Shouldn't cost you too much. I wouldn't try and pay too much for him, though. I've seen some go for some ridiculous prices, but you know, that's just people for you. But anyways, these are cool figures. If you like what you see, go out and get them. And that'll do it for my look at the Cobra H.E.A.T Viper.